So exactly what she said, we're going to be talking about how to master the side hustle. For me, starting out, my goal is to make sure that you can become educated on the legal concepts that should be considered when you are looking at maybe starting up a side hustle or even expanding your side hustle and trying to figure out what route do I need to take in order to really scale this, into my full-time business. Or maybe I want to continue working my 9 to 5, my main job, but I want to make sure that my side hustle is legally structured correctly so that I'm not paying extra taxes or getting in trouble legally. And so that is my goal for you all today, is to really understand these legal concepts. They can be overwhelming, and I really want to break them down for you all. So I found this quote, and for me, it means everything that my business really stands on and what my goal is to do. So it says, a house must be built on solid foundations if it is to last. The same principle applies to man. Otherwise, he too will sink back into the soft ground and become swallowed up by the world of illusion. Businesses need a solid legal foundation. The main issues that I see with entrepreneurs and small businesses when they're coming to me is the lack of a proper foundation when they started. And so we really want to make sure that we're considering, what is the LLC, what is the corporation, how can this help me in the future from the beginning? If my goal is to be as big as Nike or Walmart or Amazon, I need to think that way from the beginning, which means I need to start legally structuring my business from the beginning and not kind of just working on a whim. So some factors that we should consider when we are looking at a business's formation is, how is the business structured, right? Is it registered with the state? Does it have its own bank account, right? So people aren't paying me directly into my bank account, they're paying into a business bank account. Have you maintained your annual filings? Once you file your LLC or your corporation, that's not it. You need to be filing annually. And then, are you using contracts for your transactions? So two of the most popular types of business structures are going to be an LLC and a corporation. And I've listed some things up here, but I want to have a genuine conversation with you all about the main difference between the two. For some people who are going to be starting a side hustle, you're already making a significant amount of money from your 9 to 5, and you may not want to get bumped up into a higher tax bracket. Opting for a corporation over an LLC can help with that. The reason being is that a corporation files its own taxes. So if I have Marina Banks Incorporated has to file state and federal taxes every year. When I have an LLC, right, maybe I have Marina Banks LLC, the way that it's taxed is this. They say that whatever you personally made for your business, you're going to be taxed personally. So if Marina Banks LLC made $100,000, when Marina Banks goes to file taxes, it shows up that in addition to anything else she's made, she's also made $100,000. And you're like, okay, well, maybe some of that money's still sitting in my business bank account. I haven't necessarily spent that or paid it to myself. It doesn't matter. When you have an LLC, you are personally taxed for all that your LLC has made. So for my people who are like, I'm still working my 9 to 5, I'm making, probably into the 6 figures, I don't necessarily want to be bumped into higher tax bracket. I want you to consider the corporation route, because the corporation is going to file its own taxes rather than showing up on your personal taxes. And then you'll get taxed for whatever the corporation pays you. Maybe you only pay yourself $40,000 a year to cut down on the amount that you're paying in self-employment taxes. Versus those who are really trying to make the business their full-time job, right? And you're going to shift away from that 9 to 5, so this is going to be your sole income. It may make more sense for you just to go ahead and do the LLC route, because you're not going to be concerned about the tax part. Now, as far as liability protection goes, they both offer the same amount of liability protection, right? As far as when you are trying to get considered for loans by lenders, right? That's when they're going to opt more towards a corporation. Now, having an LLC is better than having nothing, but lenders tend to favor the corporation route more. So if you are looking to do loans in the future, keep that in mind. Transitioning from a DBA or a sole proprietorship to an LLC or corporation. Some people, when they're starting out, they just start out as a sole proprietorship. That means that I, Marina Banks, have decided to sell something, goods or services, right? And I've started selling. That means that I'm a sole proprietor. I don't have to file anything. I've just made the decision to sell something, and I started selling it. Now, maybe I filed what's called a DBA. That is a doing business as, or an assumed name certificate. That just means that I'm notifying the state that I intend to conduct business under this name. Nothing further. There's no liability protection with that. There's no business registered. You're just notifying that I'm going to do business under a certain name. I like to think of it a little like a name tag, right? We all have these lanyards on, right? They have a name on it. When you file a DBA, you're pretty much telling the state, hey, I'm gonna go by this name. So what does that process look like when you're transitioning from a DBA or a sole proprietorship to an LLC or a corporation? Well, for one, we need to get a new EIN. EIN stands for Employer Identification Number, and it's pretty much like your business's social security number. You'll use it for your business taxes and so forth. Now you can get this when you only have filed a DBA, but if you're transitioning to an LLC or corporation, you need a new EIN. The reason being is that the IRS taxes these differently, and they need to know how to appropriately tax you. So you have to get a new EIN. The second is that you want to get a new bank account, right? The original bank account that you opened when you were a sole proprietor or only had a DBA was strongly connected to you personally. And when we're filing or registering or LLC or corporation, we're trying to separate ourselves as a person from our actual business entity. And so we want to open this new bank account so that it's fully under our business's name and not under our name. And then the other thing is that you want to enter contracts under the name of your business. So instead of PepsiCo entering into business with Marina Banks, no, they're going to enter into business with Marina Banks Incorporated. Whatever your LLC or corporation name is, that is what you want to put on contracts, and you want to sign it as such. Marina Banks, president of, blank LLC or blank corporation. You want to let them know that you have that LLC or that corporation protection. When we're talking about from the legal standpoint, that's what businesses are looking for. Well, did you put us on notice that you have that liability protection? And you can do that in the signature and when you're talking about who the parties are that are entering the contract. Protecting your business's assets with holding companies or operating companies. So some of you may have heard about this as an option when you're looking at structuring your side business. The best example I can give with how to explain a holding and an operating company as an option for you is this. I own a piece of property at 123 South Street, and I want to lease it out, right? Just to have some extra income flowing in. Well, I don't want to get sued if someone gets hurt on the property, so I'll put the ownership of the property itself, 123 South Street, in the name of a holding company. And it works like a safe. When we think of a safe, we kind of just stuff our important items in there to keep it safe, and that's it. It's not in charge of handing out, money to anyone or anything like that. They just hold it. Your holding company just holds your important assets. And then you also have to have an operating company. The operating company will enter leases with people. Your operating company will be the property manager pretty much. And that's the way that you can really separate your assets, right, from being held liable if anyone is to get hurt or anyone tries to sue your business. I tried to break it down as much as possible, you guys, in a short amount of time. But I wanted to let you know about this option because a lot of people are starting to use property right now as another source of income, and this is a great way to really shield yourself liability-wise while still, bringing in money. And how do I keep my business filing in good order? Annual requirements. Whether you have filed an LLC, corporation, whatever the case may be, your state is going to require you annually to file something. Taxes for the most part, and usually what's called an annual report. Check with your state to make sure that you know when it is. Most states, the deadline is going to be March, April area, or they're going to make it a year from when you initially filed. Check with your state so you know your deadline. You don't want to miss this in order to keep your business in good order. Contracts. So contracts are really important. I'm not going to go through each of these, but I really want to highlight this because people overlook contracts and they want to go to Google. Please, you guys, do not go to Google to get contracts. Those are pretty much when I know when someone sends me a contract, I know when it came from Google because I can just look at it. It doesn't have the proper requirements that are in there to really fully protect yourself. So whenever you're conducting business, really figure out what contracts are going to help you and what contracts you can put in place. And then common mistakes of startup businesses. Number one is that people don't hire legal counsel because they believe it's too expensive. I'm most likely going over what you try to do on your own and telling you that you either filed too many things and you wasted money, or you filed something, didn't do it properly, and now we have to spend more money trying to fix it. Just get legal counsel from the beginning. Don't feel like you need to do everything yourself. I don't even do that, right? I know when I need to divvy things out. Know that as an entrepreneur, right? You don't have to figure everything out on your own. Understand the laws and legal specifics behind the business structure you're choosing. We really tried to break down today, what the differences are. Don't just choose one because, your cousin said that he had one or your friend said she got. You want to know the legal specifics behind it to choose what's best for you. Once again, don't grab your contracts from Google. And then people don't register their business and end up having to pay back taxes. So it's illegal to conduct business and not alert the state or the IRS. Once they find out that you have been conducting business, they will come after you for back taxes. And you don't want to have to pay that because they're going to then tell you how much you need to pay instead of you telling them, what it is that you're going to pay based on what your business brought in and what your expenses were. So with that said, I'm going to transition over to Shay.
Yeah.